Every revolution begins with a dream. Just 3 months ago, Pod Jerky was an idea that was willed into existence with a burning passion. Listeners and fans alike want to chant,
Pod Jerky, Pod Jerky, Pod Jerky.
Together, with its fans, Pod Jerky will change the landscape of podcasting, creating unforgettable moments that will last forever. Join us this year where the revolution began, where friends are sure to be made and others to determine who truly is the best in the world. And now, Pod Jerky presents
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Pod Jerky. Today, I'm going to be flying solo as this whole coronavirus pandemic has got us stuck in the houses, I guess, and I'm not going to be able to meet up with Master Impressive to do this interview. Today's episode, we're going to have a local comedian on. His name is Sharif, and I do apologize if the audio is a little bit low for you, as we did have to do it over the phone because we are not allowed to actually leave our house, or we have to practice social distancing right now, and it's a little difficult to get together. So we actually decided just to do an interview over the phone. So without further ado, here is that interview, and we hope you enjoy. All right, I am here with Sharif, who is a local comedian out of Toronto. How you doing, Sharif?
Not bad. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So Sharif and I have actually known each other, probably about 20 years now?
Yeah, 20. Yeah, longer than that.
Yeah, maybe longer than that. I mean, we didn't go to the same high school together or anything like that, but we ended up meeting just after high school, I guess, or maybe even actually while high school was going on. We were always the guys that were kind of in that background going, hey, who's that guy? And hey, who's that guy? We always see each other and whatever, because we had mutual friends in common there. So
yeah, you know what? Actually, I think the first time I met you, as you was in grade 9, there was somebody was kind of, I won't say a house party or some kind of get together.
Yeah.
I won't say the person's name, but I remember seeing you there, and we're all, it was an afternoon, and we're at somebody's driveway, and a bunch of people were there. I remember seeing you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then kind of got introduced, and then, every so often after that, we get bumping into each other.
Yeah. And I mean, every year we always get together with a bunch of friends. We do, the whole Christmas thing. We go out for each other's birthdays. When we hit the big, milestones, I guess, right? Like the 40-year-old birthday, and we did the 30-year-old thing as well, and all that stuff. So we've known each other for quite a long time. We have a lot in common. We like kind of like the same shows that we watch, like The Simpsons. I still remember being at somebody's cottage. And again, we're not going to mention any names here. And everybody was outside and doing things, and you and I actually just went inside and ended up watching The Simpsons on TV, and we didn't care. We were so happy to watch The Simpsons. Yeah.
But this is how diehard we are, because they had no cable up there. It was just the antenna.
Yeah.
Off the roof, so we made sure we had to move the antenna in order to make sure we got the signal just to watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, and it was kind of still fuzzy, but we, at that point we didn't really care about that, right? So it was actually fun to do that. But I mean, we're into like Family Guy and The Simpsons and South Park, and we like the animated shows. We like our stand-up comedy. We like the stuff that's really funny. So we always have a good laugh when we get together. Like I said, we got a lot in common, so we always get along when we're all out together. I mean, we have a good group of friends, so I mean, all of us when we get together always have a good time. So I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. So we want to get into a little bit about what Sharif does. He does stand-up comedy. So I guess, like, when did you first decide that this was something that you wanted to do?
I was actually forced into it. I've always thought about it. Growing up, I've always just loved comedy, and I just watching stand-up in high schools and what really started watching stand-up. And a friend of mine who I used to work with, another local comedian, his name is Asfar, shout out to him. And we actually used to work together. And then he started about a year, maybe a year and a half before me. And because we sat next to each other at work, and I used to go watch his shows and would always catch jokes at work. And then he was just like, yo, you could do this. And I was like, I am not going on stage. Forget that. And I watched one of his shows one day, and there was this guy. He was horrible. I can't bring it in front. He was horrible. He just told some really horrific joke, and he got like no laughs. I mean, dead silence in the club.
Was he like a new guy or?
Relatively new. Like it was an open mic night,
Okay.
right? But I mean, the people are, I guess, kind of seasoned in there. So I mean, as far as I remember, he's done it a few times, right? So he knew what he was doing. The way he moved around stage, it wasn't his first time. Maybe in his first year, but I could tell he knew he was comfortable on stage, but he just wasn't funny. And then I remember sitting there with another friend of ours from work, and I was just like, you know what? I could do that. I know at least I can get one joke off.
Right.
So that was always in the back of my head. And then months later, my friend was just like, yo, I signed you up for an open mic. I'm going to come pick you up at your house tomorrow. And I was like, what? And then he's like, yeah, just talk about the stuff we talk about at work. It'll work on stage. I'll come get you tomorrow night. I didn't think he was serious. Michael, just in case, let me write some stuff down, right? So I wrote 5 minutes of some jokes I had. And then this guy at work, like, I'm coming to get you tonight. I'll pick you up at 6 o'clock. And I'm like, this guy doesn't know where I live and stuff. He got everything. He picked me up, and we went down. And it was in Toronto at College in Bathurst, some sports bar there. And he picked me up, and then I went up. And then it went, I can't lie, it was nerve-wracking. It was, straight 8 Mile, palm sweaty, mom spaghetti type thing.
Oh, I imagine, yeah.
Yeah, my hands were shaking and stuff. And remember, my first joke didn't go that well. And I remember like, oh, damn. I'm up here for like another half an hour, it feels like, even though it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then after that first joke, everything else worked like really well. And I was getting laughs, and I was like, is this really happening? Like, I felt like I was in a dream watching myself.
Wow.
Because I'm telling jokes, and these people are laughing, and they're laughing at my jokes. And then I kept going, I finished, and everyone was like, yeah, it was really good, and clapping up the place. I'm like, oh, okay. And the funny thing that happened to me after that was there were 2 comedians there. I'll shout them both out. Alex Pavone, who I still talk to, he actually lives in New York City now, doing stand-up out there. Another guy, Dave Mirage, who actually has a Netflix special out, so it's on there. I think Comedians of the World on Netflix, so check that out. Dave Mirage. They were both there. So Dave was the headliner that night, and then he actually shouted me out. He's like, hey, that guy Sharif, oh, you're funny, man. Where are you? He pointed at me, he goes, oh, that was really good. I was like, oh, damn. Like somebody of value that wasn't, just a crowd member or anything and actually noticed, right? A real comedian. So after that, and then Alex came up to me after the show and goes, hey, man, you were so good up there. How long have you been doing comedy? I'm like, this is my first night. So he kept giving me a strange look like, what do you mean your first night? He goes, no, you're so natural up there. How long have you been doing it? Seriously, this is my first time ever. He asked me that question 8 times in a row.
Oh, wow.
They couldn't believe it. Yeah. So after a while, I'm getting annoyed. I'm like, who the hell is this guy, But I started to pull my friend Asbar. I'm like, yo, can you tell him? He goes, yeah, this is his first time. He's like, no way. And he literally walked around the room for about 5 minutes, came back, goes, no, it's not your first time. You've done this before. I'm like, no, dude, my first time. Like, he kept going the whole, I think another 20 minutes, he kept coming up to me like, no, this can't be. So that's I thought, okay, what I kind of prepared for kind of worked. Then I did it a second time after that. I think the next week I did it, and I got another horrible intro by the guy hosting that night.
Yeah.
He's like, well, he was on last week. This week, let's see if he's just as lucky.
Oh, wow. And like he actually came out and said, let's see if he's just as lucky.
Yeah, and I remember looking at him like, what the hell?
Wow.
And I was like, okay. And I think I changed up maybe 2 or 3 jokes. So I had the beginning and the end, but I changed up 2 or 3 jokes, right? So
yeah.
I told some new stuff, and I actually riffed, which is basically going off the top of your head, right?
Yeah.
So I did that off another joke. someone else did. I told a joke about Oprah and Ellen DeGeneres or something, and everyone started laughing at that. And then a couple of friends were there who actually got to see me. Andrew, he ended up showing up. Him and Mike showed up.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. And then I didn't know my brother actually walked in too.
Now, how do you feel about that when you see people that you know in the crowd? Does that make you more nervous to try to perform and be funnier, or do you get nervous to the point where you think, okay, you know what, I'm going to screw something up here because I see my friends or my family in the crowd? Or
yeah, definitely, it makes me a lot more nervous.
Yeah.
For sure, because I know you guys. So if you see me, I'm like, oh crap. Like,
yeah.
You're gonna mention it, and I kind of want to forget about it, or
Yeah.
If it goes well, then I really don't care. But if it doesn't go well, I don't want to. I know it's gonna be on my face, like, oh god, I hate that, and then I feel like every time.
But you know us, we're never gonna rip on you guys, right? We're never gonna rip on you.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, geez, I always want to do better, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist that way. I'm like, okay, because I know how I want it to look, and I try to match that in my head.
Yeah, yeah. Now, how long have you been doing this now?
This has been going on, I want to say, maybe it's been definitely over 10 years.
10 years now, eh? It's been that long.
Yeah, maybe 12. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been breaks on and off in between.
Yeah.
But from when I started, yeah.
Now, are you making a career out of this now, or is this just something that you want to do on the side?
Right now, I'm still kind of half and half on both. I'm trying to make it a bit more of a career. It's been tough, life stuff does happen.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I'm still trying. I've actually done a lot more. Actually, I just came back from LA a couple months ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
There, and I was in Miami before that. So I'm definitely trying a lot harder than I was before.
And who are some of like your biggest influences? I mean, we know probably some of the more popular ones, such as Dave Chappelle. I mean, we all love Chappelle.
Oh yeah.
But who are some of your other influences that you like to watch?
It's funny because obviously there's Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because everyone's watched Delirious on Rob back in the day. Just like there's something about that.
Yeah. One of the greatest stand-ups ever. I loved Delirious.
Oh yeah. Everybody can quote Delirious.
Yeah.
And it's also funny that in high school, that our good friend Andrew, he actually recorded Delirious and put it onto a cassette tape.
Okay.
So we're in during lunch or after school or whenever we had free time over our study hall, he would just play the tape. So we would just listen to Delirious like all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like tattooed in my head. But for comedians, it's funny. I still say him, Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
But I had never watched a Bill Cosby stand-up until maybe about 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
I had never seen a stand-up. I've only heard bits and pieces of certain jokes, but just from watching him on TV and Cosby Show,
yeah,
like that's where I kind of feel one person I definitely learned delivery from, and facial expressions. George Carlin is probably my all-time favorite.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he had the smart, he had the cynical, he had the witty, he had everything on one side.
And the delivery was great. Like his delivery was great.
Yeah, his delivery is amazing, and I love smart jokes.
Yeah,
I love jokes that make you think, and he always had that. He had the dumb ones. He would tell a fart joke when we had a bunch of those, which make you laugh.
Yeah,
and he'd tell a really smart joke. So definitely him, and then Chappelle is kind of not too far off of him in that same thing, smart jokes and dumb jokes at the same time.
Yeah.
There's
I could watch Chappelle over and over and over again. His Chappelle show, his Netflix specials, whatever it is. I'm a fan of like Tom Segura. He's really funny. It's just, I guess it's in the delivery of all of the stand-up comics, right? It's the way they deliver their jokes and all that. So it's really interesting to see some of the comedians that have specials compared to some of the other ones, and see the different delivery that they have, and how much funnier it comes across with one comedian than it does another if they're telling almost the same joke, right?
No, exactly, and how it makes such a difference just on delivery. And I know that's a hard part where I'm still learning that craft. Like, I've told a joke and I can tell it very monotone,
Yeah.
and I'll get some laughs. But as soon as I put an inflection somewhere on a certain word, it makes such a difference. I'm like, wait, I just told the exact same joke, but because I took the word "the" and I put high pitch or low pitch on it or whatever,
Yeah.
some kind of inflection, it tells a totally different story. And it's a very simple skill, but a very hard one to develop, I think.
Yeah. Now, do you come up with your own material? Like, how do you come up with that when you're writing your jokes?
Writing, it's just whatever comes to mind. Obviously, usually it's an idea. Honestly, most of the stuff is just family. Like, when I talk to my brother and sisters, and then we end up saying something stupid, and I get an idea. I'm like, oh yeah, let me write about this, and then a joke comes out. But honestly, most of my stuff is just really random or based on past experience.
Right, just
like,
part of everyday life, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, I have jokes I'm writing now that have stuff to do with, let's say, like, high school and college.
Right.
Like, incidents that happened there. I'm like, okay, now I can take that one piece of it and add it, make it more current and, and kind of freestyle off of that.
Now, do you ever bounce like your shows off of anybody? Say like any of your family members or any of your friends. Once you do come up with a show idea, do you ever bounce it off of them to see the reaction to it?
Yeah, usually for that, most of the time I go with my sisters. I'll just say something. I'm like, does this work? And they're like, kind of,
They give you the honest feedback.
Yeah, they give me the honesty. They're always straight with me, right? Most of the time I just try to do it myself. Like, I kind of play it in my head. Would this work? I do have a couple other comedians I go to, usually one or two.
Okay.
If I have a joke, I'm like, what do you think of this? So I usually talk to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, I like this, but you should tweak it this way or look at this angle, And that's how everybody writes. I mean, you're still writing the joke, like, I'm not having ghostwriters or anything like that.
Yeah. Cool. So when you're doing a show, I guess, like, how do you get like noticed, I guess, in the comedy business? Like, if you're doing a show, are there agents there that are watching your shows? Like, how do you progress in this business?
For me, when I've done shows, I just kind of do them, and then I find out later that, oh, there was somebody in the crowd watching, or maybe there was someone from Just for Laughs. When I did Just for Laughs tryout last year, I actually knew it was going to be a tryout. Like, that I was kind of prepared for. Not the best prepared, but I knew it was coming.
Right.
Other shows I've gotten like kind of get scouted off of.
Okay.
I didn't know. I just kind of did the show, and then someone comes up to me after and goes, "Hey man, you were great. I want you to put it on this show." Or one big festival I did Amuja Kumba Festival, which is at Harborfront every February. And when I got booked for that, I had, like, the person saw me like 3-4 months before that, and then I just got an email one day. I had no idea how this person got my email, still to this day. It's like, hey, I want to put you on this festival show. You get to do 2 shows on a Saturday, and we're gonna have like 1,000 people there. And I'm like, oh, this is, somebody's always watching. But you kind of have to move around and kind of, go out of the city, meet people, meet bookers, and somebody always knows somebody, and then before you know, you end for the opportunity. For some people, it happens quicker, and other people, it takes a lot longer to get that opportunity.
Right. So now going back to the Just for Laughs thing, how did that go down? And if you did get booked onto that show, would that be something that they were going to air on like the Comedy Network, or was that just like a Just for Laughs festival in Montreal or Toronto, wherever it was?
So Just for Laughs, it was actually, try to put Just for Laughs, and also it was also for Kevin Hart's network, the LOL network.
Okay.
So if you made it for that, you probably would end up recording for his network. And then if you do well on that one, I mean, there's so many comedians there, you could hop onto another show. Like, I have a comedian that she got on that show, ended up doing a show for Little Rel right after that. That weekend, ended up a Little Rel show, and then some other shows just kept hopping back and forth. You start to meet people on contacts, and then now, because these are, huge, big Hollywood people, they're famous people, so before you know it, you could end up doing a bigger show, end up on bigger tours, which has helped for a lot of people. But yeah, for that opportunity, it didn't go well for me. I didn't make the cut for that. So
I mean, you still got lots of time to get into that, right? So
yeah, it took me a while, like, to get that that tryout, it took 3 years.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
does that come
year,
more often now that they've seen you once and they want to actually come back and see if there's a progression there or?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the next time we do it, obviously going to progression, and now it's kind of I know how to handle it, because I think my mistake was, and I'll be honest, is that I was trying to impress the scout.
Right.
I wasn't trying to perform for the crowd. I was only performing for the scout. I'm like, hey, this is what they want to see. I'm like, and after I remember getting off stage, I'm like, wait a minute, why would I perform just for that person when there's literally 400 people in this damn room?
Yeah.
And that's the huge mistake I made. I didn't do my act. I was just performing for this one person, like nobody else was there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I made that mistake. I own it. So, I mean, next time I don't care who's there anymore. But
yeah, I mean, it's a learning experience.
Now that I'm like, I don't care who's there. I don't care what I say. You're there.
Yeah, and it's a learning experience, right? You learn from your experiences, and then you move on, and then you get better, right?
Exactly. So it definitely made me much better in that aspect.
Yeah. So are there any like comedians? I know you've already mentioned a couple of them, but are there any comedians that you've really enjoyed working with?
Yeah, there was one I got to with Eddie Griffin. I did that show years ago. That was actually a really good one. Him just giving me some game of what goes on. The first one actually really kind of helped me out. There's a comedian named Talent. He's a big comic in New York and the States. One of New York's funniest. And he actually helped me a lot when I did a show with him, and I was still fairly new. And then, when you're, I guess, a vet comic, you kind of look at the comic and like, this person's not going to do good, right?
Yeah.
So I went on and I did really well. So we were talking in a room like 700 people, and I did really, really well. So I came off, and him and another comedian, A.G. White, who's done Bad Boys of Comedy with P. Diddy and such. So Talent was one of the New York Kings of Comedy. He's on that tour. And he looked at me and goes, whoa, that was really good. This is what you, and he started giving me advice. This is what you do. When you have this joke, do it this way. Put this facial expression on it. When I was doing TV, he gave me, like, within 5 minutes, he gave me like 3-4 pages of like, notes.
Wow.
To go through, like, in my head. I was like, damn, like, I go, but this guy, he's a New York King of Comedy. That's, his groove and that's his tour.
Yeah.
And he's giving me this advice. And then A.G. White had this look on his face like, wow, like, you're good, right? And he kept saying, yo, man, you're good. Just keep going. Right? I was like, I was expecting to get ripped by them in some way, right?
And I guess, you get that good feeling when you're getting it from other comedians that are telling you, like, that you're really good at what you're doing and to keep it going. So I guess that keeps the motivation, keeps you going and still doing this, right? Not to give up on it.
Yeah, exactly. Because, I mean, even though I never met these people before, but there's still people I look up to because they're on top of their game. And that's one thing I appreciate. A person doing anything that's at the top of their game is something you want to learn from and you want to appreciate it. I'm like, hey, man, you're doing good. So, keep going. That's all you want. So it was definitely getting those advice from those two gentlemen. It was great. Also worked with Alex Thomas, who was on the Jamie Foxx show.
Okay.
Yeah, so I worked with him, and he gave me some advice too. There's some other people I've worked with, and I'm still a fan of local comedians.
Yeah.
I look at there's a few that you see on CBC just for laughs. Like, even though I see those people, they're like, hey, man, you're doing good. I love this joke.
Have you worked with
right direction.
Godfrey, I think?
Godfrey, yeah.
Yeah.
So I was there. I just wanted to go see him perform. I didn't get to perform with him because he does a 1 hour that's uncanny. If anybody has a chance to ever go see Godfrey, do it. And if you have the money and spare time, he usually does, when he comes to Toronto, he'll do 2 shows back to back.
Okay.
And the first he'll do an hour, and if you go back to see him the very next show, he'll do a totally different hour.
Oh, wow.
Which is absolutely amazing. This guy has 2 hours of material in his head ready to go.
Yeah.
Plus, he has many more hours. But yeah, I watched the one show and I was like, oh my God. And the second show, it's a totally different hour. No same joke twice. It's just absolutely amazing. So if anybody ever has a chance to go see him, please do. Godfrey.
Yeah, definitely. Now, do you do a lot of travel for work? I know you said you've been to Vegas, I think New York. Is there a lot of other travel involved in what you do, or you just stay more locally here?
Yeah, Yeah, I've been most of the time, most of the years I've been doing it. I've always definitely been more local. Doing out the GTA and driving out to some parts. But I definitely in the last 6 months to a year, I've made traveling to other cities, like New York and Miami. When all this nonsense boils over, I'm going back to New York. I was just in LA a couple months ago, doing it out there, which actually went really well. So I just figured that I want to be able to see it's a test for me, how my jokes hold up on the West Coast, in the South, or anywhere else.
Right.
Because I want to be able to make it fluid that if I tell one joke, everybody understands. I'm not just telling a local Toronto joke or a Canadian joke. I'm telling a joke that everybody can understand. And just from, I guess, the last sort of the feedback, and it does work well everywhere.
Well, I guess if you do that down in the South, if you're telling a joke about Toronto or if you're telling it about Canada, not a lot of Americans, and no diss to the Americans, but not a lot of people know much about Toronto, right? So if you're telling a joke about Toronto down there, are they going to get it, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. And it works both ways. I mean, I've met a lot of American comedians that come up here, and they'll tell a joke about food stamps. Like, we don't have food stamps.
Right.
We get the concept of it, but we don't have that. So those jokes usually don't fly well.
Right.
Here.
Right. Now, I've always wondered this, and I don't know what a comedian would do, but what happens if you're up on stage and you start to get like no laughs? Like what goes through your head? What do you do in that situation?
What you do is just start beating up people. No, you got to keep going. Like, I've been there where you just get no laughs, and you just got to own it. I think, because I've been the one time where I got no laughs whatsoever. I remember it wasn't any comedian or myself.
Yeah.
That night it was the crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd did not want to laugh, and I think their energy was down, and we're laughing at these jokes as comedians. Like I said, I'm still a fan, so as soon as I come off stage, I turn back to fan mode, right?
Yeah.
So I'm laughing at this guy's brand new jokes that he's writing, and the whole crowd was just staring there like they had no energy. Now, the only time they started laughing is when we started making fun of them. So
yeah.
They didn't want to hear any jokes. They just want to be made fun of, which is a weird crowd.
Yeah, and so you get those hecklers, right? And like, how often do you get that, and what do you do with them?
Yeah, and you keep going. Like, if the joke doesn't work, you move on to the next one. Move on to the next one. But you'll find something. Or sometimes you just have to go out of your own element. Like, I don't really talk to the crowd much, but sometimes you have to. It becomes natural. Like, hey, what are you looking at? Or and try to come up with something new to pull the crowd back in. It's kind of like you got to get that whole a wrestling reference. When the wrestlers get beat up in the ring as a tag team partner and they're trying to reach back to the rope.
Yeah.
To tag their partner with all the energy in, you got to keep reaching until, okay, you have to find something. So once you make that tag, like, okay, now I got the crowd back in, and you keep going. But the worst thing is to stop, I think, right?
Right.
Just don't stop on stage. Oh, thank you. But stopping is different from quitting while you're ahead. Like, if I get a decent joke off and they got a decent laugh, and I got another decent laugh, and then I'm not confident in the next joke I'm going to tell, you know what? I may cut it a little bit short. Like, instead of doing my whole 15 minutes, I might do 13 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's okay, or trying to riff off that. But the worst thing to do is stop. Sometimes the best thing you do is stop. If nothing's working, then just say, oh, thanks, appreciate it, and you get off.
And then walk off the stage, right?
Yeah, and say, oh, okay, you know what, I took the L on that one, but next time I'm okay. Some comedians, they try way too hard, and it makes it a lot worse for them.
Yeah, but like you said, it's all about the energy of the crowd, right? So, I mean, you could have a dead crowd one night and tell the exact same jokes another night, and the crowd eats it up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
and I've seen both crowds. I've seen crowds, because I'll tell a smart joke, and the crowd doesn't want to hear it. Like, okay, so I'll tell some other jokes, and I'll get off, and I'll still be okay. And then I remember I went up one night, and actually Alex was on the show, and he went up and started telling basically just simple, like, fart jokes.
Yeah.
And he was killing.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, the crowd didn't want to hear smart jokes, although the crowd was like a bunch of hipsters, which are smart,
Yeah, yeah.
So it was just weird. So, but yeah, just keep going.
Yeah. Now, what's the biggest crowd that you've performed in front of?
The biggest crowd would have been about 1,400 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was actually one of my first early on shows. Actually, the first big show I ever did. I literally went from doing 20 to 50 people at a small restaurant, pub. And then Jay Martin, local comedian, shout out to him. He put me on and said, "Hey, I'm gonna have you do one of my shows." I'm like, "Okay." And then I got to the place and I was like, "Oh wait, this is sold out. 1,400 people in the place."
Wow. And that was down in Toronto?
Yeah, it was in Toronto, downtown Toronto, Queen Elizabeth Theatre, CNE grounds, and it was one of my best shows I've ever done. So I looked up, I'm like, you know what? And that's where I really got the love for it. Really started to fall in, because I'm like, yo, I get why Seinfeld does it and Carlin and everybody, because to have 1,400 people and the energy there was just like fantastic.
Yeah, like how good does that make you feel to see a room full of 1,400 people and they're all just laughing at your jokes?
Yeah, it's still, even when I think about it right now, like, it's still unbelievable. Like, yo, I told this joke and they were dying of laughter, and their energy is just uncanny, like unmatched. I mean, the closest thing to do that is obviously being, an athlete, pro athlete in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same type of feeling. So it was very comfortable. Like, it's funny, I'm weird that way, some people say, but I'd rather do a crowd of 1,400 people. Does not make me nervous, but a crowd of 20 people does.
Well, I guess maybe because you can hear all the, like, I guess, comments, I guess, from 20 people.
Yeah.
It's more intimate, right? It's a more intimate setting.
Yeah, which, I mean, I like doing both, but I just feel, because for me it's an energy thing. I just feel a lot more energy either way, even if I get silence.
Yeah.
If 5, 4 people give me silence, I'll still feel that energy. Like, okay, you know what? I'd be pumped. Let me try this one. But for 20 people, I don't know. I think a lot more. I'm just different that way.
Yeah.
But it's a great feeling either way.
Now, end goal wise, like, are you looking, with your progression in this, are you looking to maybe get some kind of a special to get onto Just for Laughs? Are you looking at just performing, a day-to-day thing? Like, what is your end goal here with it?
End goal is all those things. If I can make Just for Laughs, it's definitely a goal. To be able to perform on a regular basis, become that headliner I want to be, where I can work Thursday through Sunday at some spot and days to be able to tour. Because there's difference between taking a vacation and also be able to tour, right? I can actually go see other cities and see other people and meet. And it's a different life experience than going on vacation. Like, you can go on vacation in Mexico and you could do the tourist thing, or I can go on vacation as a comedian where I'm going to see a different level of it because I'm around more of the common people than you would be on vacation, right?
Right.
So it's a different eyesight to see all these cities and stuff and learn things I didn't know existed. Like, even when I went to Miami and I learned certain things down there, and I did LA and I learned certain things down there, stuff that the regular person wouldn't see just coming visiting the city, right?
Now, how different is the comedy scene down in Miami or LA or anything like that, or even New York for that matter, than it is here right now?
Yeah, in Miami, I found it to be really laid back.
Yeah.
Like, it was really, 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 I mean, you're in Miami, at the beach, I get it, it's really laid back there. So it was a bit slower. The rooms were a lot further apart. In LA, there's literally a list of rooms. Like, there's hundreds of rooms, people hustling, bustling, and then plus you have the biggest comedy clubs out in LA too, right?
Yeah.
So you could always see where you're going to end up. So if you're starting an open mic, let's just say, you know the comedy store isn't too far from you, where that's your end goal, right?
Right.
There you make another goal. In Miami, like, there's not huge clubs out there like that, so it's a bit harder to see. Say me in Vegas, you kind of know where you're going to end up, certain spots. But I mean, obviously, LA is the place to be.
Now, how difficult would you say, being a Canadian, being from Toronto, how much more difficult do you think it is to make it from here? Like, I know even with Canadian hip hop, like we're gonna have a whole episode on Canadian hip hop. We've got like permission from the Rascals, and we've got permission from Chuck Clare and Socrates and all those. And those guys were really pioneers of Canadian hip hop, and their music was fantastic, and they didn't really get that much attention because I guess they didn't get into the US or whatever it was. So as a comedian, how do you figure how much harder it is coming out of Toronto to do this than it would be if you started it off in the US?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot harder doing it here because you have to go to the U.S. And that's exactly perfect example that you put out there. Great example is that with Chaclair, Cardinal, Rascals, everybody, they have to get their American counterparts to say, yeah, you were good, and then come back here. And like, oh yeah, we love you, I want to buy your album type thing. Like the support your own is really hard to do in Canada. I think so. You do have to go to the States, build up, and then blow up. I mean, look at Russell Peters. Like we knew he was good.
Yeah.
And then he went to the States. He blew up over the internet, did all that, and then all of a sudden he's selling out stadiums here, right?
Yeah.
But he was only doing clubs and small venues here before.
Well, I still remember him actually when I was in college. He actually came to our college, and they put him in our cafeteria, and our cafeteria was basically like a high school cafeteria. It was really kind of run down and whatever, and it was just standing room. There were no seats and nothing. And I don't even think he really wanted to be there at that point, and his show just really bombed. Like I actually walked out on the show because it wasn't even actually funny. And it was just weird to see because you were so excited. Oh my God, Russell Peters is here, and this is going to be a great show. But I mean, I don't think he connected with our audience, or our audience was not smart enough to get his jokes. And it was just it was almost like a train wreck.
Yeah, and I get that. I think there's that where I found friends of Russell Peters who told me he's not a morning person.
Yeah.
So if that performance was in the morning, it was not happening properly.
Yeah.
So which I've heard lots of stories around here regarding that. But what I think is actually easier for Canadians to go to England, go to the UK.
Okay.
And you can become big there. Because I know a couple of Canadians that left here, went there, and there's one great comedian. Her name's Dana Alexander. I've never met her. I've seen her only after I've seen her show a couple of times.
Yeah.
But she left here within 3 years. She was up for Canadian of the Year in the UK.
Oh wow.
Within 3 years. There's another guy who went there. He has a show on MTV UK out there, and he was just kind of, I won't say struggling, but it was a struggle for him here. He went to England, and all of a sudden England loves him. So I think it's easier for us that way, just given their examples. But we have to just keep grinding a little bit harder. I mean, Dave Maharaj did it.
Yeah.
So he came from Windsor originally, moved to Toronto, went to New York and LA, and then he's on Netflix now.
That's awesome. I mean, I know you're not going to be doing any shows coming up anytime soon. I mean, this whole coronavirus pandemic nonsense that's going on right now. I really shouldn't call it nonsense, but I mean, everyone's pretty much not in total lockdown as of yet. But all the bars, all the restaurants, all the clubs are closed. Everything's closed. So I guess you have nothing coming up now, but do you have anything booked in the distant future that you know of that you're going to be going to?
Everything that I had booked has been postponed. I got all the emails. I got the last one last night saying, hey, we're postponing the show. So everything's really up in the air now, but I'm still prepared to start back, when everything, the coast is kind of clear, so to speak.
Yeah.
But nothing as of right now. Yeah, everything is really up in the air.
Are you planning on going back to the U.S. and doing shows?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That I have lined up. I definitely want to go back to LA, and I definitely will be going to New York at some point as well. So those two cities will definitely be seeing me.
Now, where do you, when you go to those cities, where are you performing? Are you performing at just actual comedy clubs? Are you performing at like pubs like you were when you first started off here? How does it work over there?
Yeah, same sort of deal. Pubs or restaurants and smaller comedy clubs.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's different small comedy clubs around the city, especially in LA. There's a few of them out there. And then also New York. When I get out there, I'll be doing the same thing.
Nice. Now, do you have any advice for any upcoming comedians that want to get into this?
Yeah, there's a few things. Number one, just do the jokes that you want to do and still make it tasteful for you. A lot of people, I find, they try to do jokes to just make people laugh. It has to make you laugh as well. And if you laugh at it, and then obviously if you say in jest and then your friends laugh at it, it's probably a decent joke.
Well, I guess if you're writing it down and you start to giggle a little bit, it's pretty good.
Oh yeah. And I found that for me, like jokes. One of my first biggest jokes, the first really huge joke I wrote it late at night. It was like 2 a.m. It just popped in my head. I wrote it, and I could not stop laughing for about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I never tried it. I never told anyone about this joke. I just say, you know what? This is going straight to stage.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to practice it. This is good. And I did it, and that's the reaction I got.
Nice.
So there's certain things that, sometimes you just know. But yeah, keep writing. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, I ask for help in comedians. Like, how do you deliver this? How do you do that? I watch a lot of comedy just because I love it. Like I said, I'm always a fan first. But I'm not afraid to ask, like, hey, how did you do this? Or when you tell a joke, ask someone to help you to tweak it, because, pros always know. It's no different than, Kobe used to ask Michael Jordan for, hey, how'd you do this? How'd you post up? Greats ask great. You got to ask who knows more than you.
Right.
So don't be afraid to do that. And just keep going.
Awesome. Now, before we go, do you have any, I guess, social media platforms that you want to plug, that you're on, that people can follow you, maybe ask for some advice from you if they are an aspiring comic?
Yeah, if you're an aspiring comic or you just want to talk comedy, you could always hit me up. I guess Instagram would be the best way. You can hit me up at Sharif Laughs. That's SharifLaughs. So Sharif Laughs on Instagram. I'm always there, so just hit me up. That's probably the best place to hit me up.
That's funny because I'm actually joined on Instagram. I don't even have you on Instagram yet.
Oh, yeah. I thought we were friends.
I know. We have phones. We talk. We don't need to be on
there.
Instagram.
Just want to chat, say something. Follow me. I mean, if you just want to talk comedy, I'm cool with that. You don't have to be an aspiring comedian. You just stuff you want to know about comedy. We can direct each other, or if you have a clip that, hey, this is funny, you want me to see, that's cool. But I don't mind that. It's all being social, being positively social, and that's what social media should be used for. Right.
Awesome. So we're gonna end that for today's episode, and we want to say thank you very much to Sharif for coming on the show. I know right now it would have been better if we got had a chance to get together and actually do this recording, but because of this whole coronavirus or COVID-19, whatever they're calling it, we decided to do this over the phone. I'm not sure how good it's going to sound online, but hopefully we got some good quality sound out of this, because we're kind of just stuck in the house, right? And both of us being home right now, we decided, why not? This is a good time to do it. All right, so we're just going to say thank you to Sharif, and thanks for coming on the show. And hopefully we'll get you back on the show for another episode one day.
Here we go now! Play that beat!
Pod Jerky.